Wait, from green to
Oh
blue.
no, it's going.
So it's okay.
Okay, yep.
Okay. Okay. So let's start here with, so my little nephew, who's only 3 months old, has this condition. And since he's doing fine, nobody really knows much about it.
Just kind of curious. He has a condition, but why is he not?
Yeah, well, my sister seemed like I needed to get more information about this thing that he has, but he's fine.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm thinking about starting a family, so it must be important to know that.
Well, I'll go into explaining kind of what PKU is, then and kind of how it works. So we get nutrients from our diets and proteins, we take them in, and our bodies have ways of kind of breaking those down and using them. But with PKU, there's a buildup of a certain protein called phenylalanine, and our body doesn't know what to do with it, so it can't break it down. So it can get into our brain and cause effects that we don't really want to see. But it can be, if you implement treatment early with a strict diet that's low in that protein that accumulates with PKU, then a lot of the clinical features can be avoided, and people can live pretty normal lives.
Yeah, so I know they changed what they fed.
Yeah. So, and he got diagnosed really early. Yeah. So once children are diagnosed with PKU, they try to implement that diet as early as possible because symptoms can kind of show up around 6 months if it's not taken care of. But the effects of those kind of happen. The effects in your body that you can't see kind of happen before 6 months. So they try to implement it as soon as possible to kind of stop that in its tracks, and that allows for normal growth and development. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because he's growing.
Right. Yeah. So I think next we will get into some of what can happen if you don't treat it. Would you be interested in?
Yeah.
Thinking about that? Okay.
Yeah.
So some things that we see in non-treated patients are intellectual disability, low IQs, ADHD, there's eczema, seizures is another one that they experience. But as long as you get that diet implemented right away, then a lot of those can be missed. And then and you said he was diagnosed through the newborn screening.
I'm thinking so,
yeah.
Because he was like just.
And that's where a lot of those babies are caught. They do the heel prick, which is just a little dab on the heel, and they push a filter paper on it, and they send it to a lab, and they run a test that can tell you a bunch of. It has a bunch of different stuff on it that they test for, and PKU is one of those. And it was actually one of the first. I think it was the first actually condition that was on the newborn screening. So yeah, it's been around for a while. There's no cure for PKU, but the diet seems to do the job. And
so this is
yeah, the diet is it is recommended that they follow that strict diet throughout their life. And there's been cases where people go off the diet and then they start to see some of the regression in cognitive abilities, and IQ can drop a little bit, and ADHD can kind of show up. So yeah, it's important to stay on it throughout your life, for sure. Yeah. would you be interested in learning a little more about the diet and what you might be going through throughout his life? Okay. So basically, they have to restrict all natural protein, so that means no meat, no cheese, no dairy, no nuts, peanut butter. So they
That doesn't sound very good.
no, yeah, it's a hard diet to follow.
Especially for a kid.
Right.
No peanut butter.
Yeah, and yeah, social experiences can kind of be affected that way because you want to go get like pizza or something with your friends. You have to kind of adjust to your needs. So it can be difficult, but I think if it's explained how important it is to their health, then yeah, young kids might not get it right away, but once they get older, and I think it's easier to wrap their brain around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and some other things that are limited is like flour, fruits and vegetables. They can usually eat those, but they pretty much all of the diet has to be monitored and regulated in dietitians and metabolic physician, which is they do a really good job of monitoring that.
So what can you eat?
Yes.
This is like anything you can eat.
Sure. There's specially made foods for people with PKU that are low in that protein called phenylalanine.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's phenylalanine-free food. And it is a little more expensive than the food that we would eat, but it's pretty necessary. And sometimes the cost can be a financial burden on the family because some insurance companies don't like to cover it. So that is also an issue with adherence to the diets. But yeah. Any other questions about the diet?
No, just so my sister sent me here, and so she must be worried about the.
Sure, yeah. I'll talk about the inheritance stuff then. So. In your sister situation, so we each get 2 copies of each gene. We have 2 copies of each gene. We get one from mom and one from dad. In PKU, you need 2 non-working copies of a gene in order to be affected, and so that would mean that mom and dad would both have to have 1 non-working copy to give away to your nephew. So that would mean that they were both carriers for that. And carriers for PKU don't see symptoms or anything. They could be normal growth and development. And so yeah, that would be the case for your sister and her husband. And so because your sister had to have gotten her non-working copy of her gene from somebody, either your mom or your dad would have to be a carrier. Does that make sense?
Okay.
And then, so that would give you about a 25% chance of being a carrier as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah. Okay. So, mom passes on 1 copy of either one of these genes. She's got 2. She passes 1 on, and then dad passes 1 on too. And it's a 50-50 chance on which one they give you.
Mm-hmm.
So, she could even, let's say mom's a carrier. And that little dot means that she carries that non-working gene. So she has a 50-50 chance of giving, passing on that non-working gene to you as well. And then Dad has 2 working copies, so you automatically get 1 working copy.
So that's double.
Right. Yep. 1 working copy is enough to not have PKU. There's enough of that. There's not an accumulation of that protein because it can be broken down in the right way. So, thinking about future pregnancies for you. Are you thinking about starting a family soon? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So your risk for your pregnancy would depend on if he is a carrier or not, and the carrier frequency in the United States is about 1 in 60. So it would be a 1 in 60 chance times a 25% chance, which is so the carrier frequency for it's 1 in 50 actually. Yeah, 1 in 50. So you take the carrier frequency times the carrier frequency, and then times the chances that you would pass that gene on. So it would end up being about a 1% or a 0.01% risk for pregnancy for your children, which is pretty low.
So do I need a test?
You can. Your sister would be actually your nephew would be the first one to test to see which, there's 500 different mutations, or 500 plus different gene changes for PKU. So if you were to get genetic testing, it would kind of tell you what you would be looking for in yourself. So you kind of work backwards that way.
Mm-hmm.
So if we knew what his...
He probably have a test, right? But I just don't know what it is.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. I think they do that right after, just to make sure that it's actually PKU. So your sister would be the next one to test, and then you could get testing now, but they wouldn't know necessarily kind of what to look for, just because there's so many different gene changes in the gene that we're talking about. But you definitely could. Is that something that you're interested in?
It doesn't seem like the risk is low.
No, yeah.
So, I'm not sure.
Yeah. Some people need a minute to, or however long to think about it. And, yeah.
I'm sure my sister would say that.
Yeah. Well, because she knows that
Right. That can happen.
Yeah.
So that's pretty big because it happened.
Mm-hmm. And the reason that we don't see he's the first one in your family is because the carriers don't have any symptoms or anything like that. And
So other people get the carriers, but we
right.
don't know.
It's like, yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions for me?
Not right now.
All right.
So that keeps recording.
Yeah, it did.